I remember saying out loud, like, why am I even praying? Like, it doesn't even matter. And I heard this voice say, pray anyway. Hey y'all, welcome back for episode 2 of Real Talks with LR. I really appreciate all the positive feedback, all of the feedback in general. I just really appreciate you guys meeting me back here for episode 2. And let's get into it. I know last week we talked about continuing with the international man and getting deeper into his travels, being a passport bro or a man traveling with a passport in the search of love. A lot of things happened this past week, but specifically at the end of the week, my mother graduated from college and, my mom came a long way. And like I told her, this is an amazing thing to be proud about because we came from the crack house to the college podium. And so much life has been born in the midst of all of that time. So this weekend, it all came to fruition. And I really want to highlight, this past week and all of my mom's accomplishments. So me being my mother's child and along her side for her journey, it gave me my own story, my own journey that I had to go through just being by her side while she was going through what she was going through. So, we're going to get into a little bit of that and how we got to where we are now. Living in Pensacola, I was in preschool. My dad was in the Navy. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my sister was just born. And I was a child, so I had no idea what was really going on. But now I know. Back then my dad ended up getting in trouble for selling marijuana while he was in the Navy. He ended up getting arrested. So we came home back to Pittsburgh, back to Belsuver, and shortly after that, that is when my mom was addicted to drugs. During the time when we lived in St. Clair, my mom, I don't think that she was, full throttle in her addiction. It was just like hanging out with her friends outside the building, drinking 40s, smoking weed, but all of those same people that she was hanging around, eventually those became the same people that she ended up smoking crack with. And, I don't know that it was intentional, even knowing what it was going to bring, to their lives or to the lives of their children and the people around them. And she wouldn't even leave the house until I was in bed. So it wasn't bad then, but it was the beginning. I feel like it wasn't until I got to 3rd grade where enough has happened that I noticed an actual difference in our life. At this time I was in 3rd grade. We moved from St. Clair and then we were back in my grandma's house. My grandma passed away. My grandfather was still in the house, and my mom, the intentions were for her to come back to the home, help him. But, once we moved in there, it gave my mom so much freedom because now there's another adult in the house. Because he was always there, she was never there. Gave her more freedom to hang out with her friends. Hanging out with her friends, she tried different things, I'm assuming, because, it wasn't until we moved in with my grandfather I noticed my mom was not home more and more and more. And by this time, I had a little sister. We're 6 years apart. I'm 6 years her senior. So if I'm in 3rd grade, she's a toddler, at least. But I remember it just being me and her in a 3rd room, and that wasn't even the worst of it. I mean, we ended up moving to Clairton, away from everybody that we knew, started a whole new life, knew nobody there. And that's when the real addiction really started, and it was a whole nightmare. I'm sure, if you know somebody who's been a victim of the crack epidemic. If you don't know somebody in your direct immediate household, a cousin whose mother or father was, a friend whose mother or father was, you've come across somebody who's been affected. So it wasn't too abnormal, It was happening to a whole lot of us. The only difference in Belsuver was I didn't have many friends to even talk about that with. When I moved to Clairton and we lived in the projects, everybody's parents was on drugs. Me and my friends would go around to the crack houses and knock on the door and ask for our parents or mothers individually. I was praying, for God to get my mom clean and, to look out for her and make her strong enough to, get it together. And I remember saying out loud, why am I even praying? It doesn't even matter. And I heard this voice say, pray anyway. And of course I prayed, and I didn't know, what that meant. But shortly after, my mom came to me and she said, I'm getting clean, Shauna. And I didn't know if I should get excited. I didn't know if it was real, but she got clean, and she was clean for a whole year after that. And she hit her year anniversary, and she used again. And I remember she told me, and I was just thinking to myself, I knew it was too good to be true. And from that day, she decided, whatever she decided with her friends that was, supporting her through this. And, they said they would never, they're not going to let her go. They're not going to let her fall at the wayside. Whatever they decided that day, she went back to a meeting. She got clean, and she just celebrated 27 years on May 12th. And the only reason why, I can't blame her is because when she was using drugs, the moment she got clean, she was a different person. So it was like, how can I blame her for being this person when she's on drugs, but when she's clean, her whole life changed like a 180. It was like a real life Cinderella story. And our lives have never been how it used to be. And I just know that, if she was in her right mind, our lives wouldn't have been that way. The moment she got clean, our whole lives changed. I don't even know how she did it. The majority of my childhood, she was on drugs, and she still has passed me. My mom just graduated college. I've never stepped foot on a college campus in an academic way. To party, yeah, for sure. But the strength that she has to keep going, she's been through so much in these last 27 years, and she's never picked up. And the walk across the college graduation when she struggled with every single solitary thing, her mental not being where it should be, being so delayed, because, her life consisted of many other things that wasn't, productive for her. It wasn't productive for us. It wasn't productive for anybody that she was around, but some way, somehow, she came out of that. I mean, she makes, and I don't want to put her business out there, but my mom makes $90,000 a year. I'm 40. I've never been addicted to crack. Pepsi, maybe, yes. This vape, yes, but nothing that has taken me away from my focus, my babies, my goals, my anything. And I still have not surpassed my mom. It's just like the strength that she has within her. It's like, I've latched on to all the good in her. I don't even care about the addiction part of it, because I know if we didn't experience that life, we wouldn't know how great of a life we have now. And everybody doesn't have to go through that to have a good life, but I can guarantee you people who have had it from the beginning, they are not good people. And I'm not saying that for everybody, but you know what I mean? To go through some stuff and get through it, you always come out on the better end of it. And my mother is literally living proof. I think it's very helpful to share my story. And I know that this episode I talked about my mom. I can't even talk about my story without sharing her story, which in return, is going to explain my story and, the strength behind it all. We haven't had the same issues or obstacles, but her strength has gotten me through, the things that I faced in my life. And it's important for me to tell my story because I feel so cliche saying this, but your past should never determine your future. I'm not the same person I was last week, literally. So of course I'm not going to be the same person I was 5 years ago. And my mother is nowhere near the person she was 27 years ago. And it's just important because everybody goes through something. People are embarrassed. People are, humiliated, but no one on this earth has went through something that nobody else has ever not went through. They say all the time, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. That's very important to know, because how do you navigate throughout the world if you don't know where you came from? How do you know what to avoid? How do you know what to embrace? You know what I mean? So, I'm very proud of my mom's past. I'm very proud of my past. I'm very proud of my childhood because it's, made me into the woman that I am today. And, nothing contributes to that but literally me and what makes me. Thanks so much for joining me for episode 2 with Real Talks with LR. And, honestly, I knew what I was going to talk about. I didn't know that I would get so emotional. But, this is just part of the process. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. So I hope you really enjoyed the information. And I hope that you guys join me back here next week for episode 3. Have a good week.